back to my channel, or welcome to my channel if you're new here. Today I have an interesting little story time for you guys about how my therapist got fired. Yeah, the title is not at all clickbait. So for anyone that read that and was like, there's no way. Like, I'm not clickbaiting in the slightest. Like, it actually happened. Am I surprised that it happened? No, not really. I figured it's a fun little story to tell you guys. So if that interests you, keep on watching. Before we get into the video, I am going to plug all of my socials real quick. You can find me on pretty much all socials at avamerceis, except for my Snapchat, which is at ava.merceis. Also, check out my Etsy shop. I feel like I don't shout out my Etsy shop enough on here. Oh, and hit subscribe because I have a lot more shitty stories to tell you. So all right, now that all that's said, let's get into the video. So this all took place back in like, I want to say like 2022. Worst year of my life, worst year ever. So I felt the need to talk to a therapist, which perfectly fine. You're in therapy, good, it's healthy. Personally, right now I'm not in therapy. That's just because like, it's not because of this story. I actually had another therapist after this one, but now I feel like I'm in a place where I don't really need therapy anymore, but at least not right now. Like, I'm good now. Went through a rough patch, we're good now. Yeah, this was my previous therapist before I went to my last therapist. So to describe this lady, she gave off a very much like kooky vibe. Like, that's the only word that came to my mind to like describe her. Just very much like, I don't know, she was just fucking weird. You're gonna understand why in this story. I'm literally reading all of this out of my notes because I blocked like most of this from my memory. You know, it's a cute little thing I do called I can't remember shit. Basically, first appointment rolls around. Me and my mom are sitting in the little office thing because she like needs information, like fill out files or some shit. And then after like 10 minutes of that, my mom leaves and I actually get into my issues. So I talk about my issues for a little bit. I'm trying to like get a feel for this woman. Just the vibe like was off. I just did not feel comfortable here, but I wanted to give her a fair chance. So I actually went to this woman a total of 2 times. So at the same time I was going to this therapist, my brother was going to this therapist as well, because like we were dealing with like a grief situation, right? We weren't dealing with like the same, like we were, but we weren't, because like grief is different at different ages, but like I was there for like grief and something else, and then he was just there because of grief. That seems like it shouldn't matter to the story, but I promise you it does. I like don't know how to start this story. Like usually I'm good at like starting these stories and like explaining everything, but like I just wrote like a bulleted list in here of like weird shit that happened and why she got fired. So I'm just gonna read down my list, explain each thing. Sorry if it seems out of order. It's just the best way I think I could describe this whole situation because it's all a shit show, let's be real. So first on this list, she talked about herself a lot during like our therapy sessions. Kind of not what you're supposed to do, but okay. She would just like compare a lot of shit to like her own life, and she would like go into detail about like her own personal life and like her daughter. She'd bring up her old job a lot. I remember we would be in those sessions for like over an hour overtime because she would just be talking and talking and talking about random shit that just didn't have any significance to like what we were actually talking about. And I'm like, hey, but like how is that helping me with like my anxiety that you diagnosed me with 10 minutes after knowing me? Can you just tell me how that helps me? Because I really don't know. I can't make the connection. Like, girl, if you want to rant about your issues, go see a therapist. I'm not your therapist. I'm paying you to be my therapist. During these little appointments, I would literally sit in that room and just draw, because like I wasn't even getting help out of this whole situation. Like it was just a shit show. Again, that's why we only went there twice. I would literally sit there just drawing, and she'd like ask me a couple questions and I'd be like, oh, blah, blah, blah. Like I'd talk about whatever needed to be talked about. All I know is like you're supposed to leave therapy feeling like better and like refreshed, but like every time I left there, I just felt like shit. Oh, she also answered phone calls during our sessions, which kind of unprofessional. Like the therapist I had after that, like she got a call once like during one of our sessions and she just declined it. So like I get if it's important, but like also like you're working. Like, so I guess I'll also just get into something that happened at my first session with her that was not supposed to happen. So she started like reading like my, I don't know what they're called, like my files or whatever you want to call them. She started saying, okay, so you're here for this, this, and this. And I was like,
that's not why I'm here.
She was like, oh, so like blah, 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 like something like super personal family shit that like I was not supposed to find out. And then I look at her and I go, like I repeat what she says like in question form. Like if she said like, oh, da da da, like the sky is blue. I looked at her and I went, the sky is blue? And she was like, like she made like an uh-oh, like what the f did I just do like type of face. And she's like trying to cover her ass because like now she just spilled my own family business to me when I genuinely had no idea about that at all. And I get in the car after and I'm like, Mom is blah blah blah. Like I just tell her what the therapist told me and she's like, how do you know about that? And I'm like,
so the therapist kind of just filled me in like
and my mom was like, what the f Like I told her that in like confidentiality. And again, this was like the first session, like 1 out of 2 sessions, because like the shit got so weird that like we couldn't even stay there. But like the next time my mom was like, I'm gonna have a talk with your therapist about confidentiality, which is a fancy word in case you don't know what it means. That means you don't repeat what I tell you. She went in and she was like, so I heard that you told my daughter this, this, and this. Like, she wasn't supposed to know about that. Please, no more. Like, don't do that again. In reality, I don't even know what she said because she pulled her out in the hallway. That was just my lucky guess. But yeah, moral of the story, my mom talked it over with her. Circle back to the first therapy session. I was telling her about my issues. She diagnoses me within the first like 5 or 10 minutes, which I was like, and then she gives me like the weirdest coping mechanism. She's giving me this coping mechanism that's like, okay,
whenever you feel stressed, like I want you 3 times a day when you're walking through the hallway at school, whenever you have free time, I want you to breathe in and breathe out.
I'm sorry, I sound like an asshole.
And whenever you're breathing in, you need to imagine yourself breathing in a blue light and then exhaling that blue light.
You could have just told me to take deep breaths. The thing is, she made me do this like in like the first session, and I was so weirded out because like honestly, like that type of coping mechanism, like, yes, it might work for you, but it does not work for me. Like, again, maybe I'm just a bitch, but like, what the f? Yeah, the room is like dead silent, and she's like,
we're gonna breathe in the blue light now, and we're gonna exhale it, and da-da-da.
So I'm like doing the exercise with her, and our eyes are closed, and then I open my eyes because I'm holding back laughter. I look at her, and she's just in the zone. Like, is this helping me or you? I sound really bitchy in this video, but like, I promise you, if you knew this woman, you would understand. Like, I even told her before she started this, like, oh, I've tried stuff like that, it doesn't really work for me. And she proceeded to be like, oh, well, we're gonna do it anyway. It's gonna work for you. Like, I'm all for trying new things, but like when I'm like a little kid who laughs at literally everything under the sun, and I'm telling you like what works for me and what doesn't. Again, it didn't work for me. That doesn't always mean it's not gonna work for you, but just like everyone's different. Not everyone uses the same coping mechanisms, and I wish she understood that. She gets into the whole, oh, and like you're gonna do this like 3 times a day, like this is gonna help you. I looked at her and I was like, can I be really honest with you for a sec? And she was like, sure. Sassy ass 14-year-old me looks at her and goes, I'm not doing that. I just said everything I was thinking. And like even after I would tell her like these coping mechanisms like were not helping me at all, she'd be like, no, they're gonna help. They'll help you. They'll help. Just do them. And I'm like, no, like they're not helping me. And she's like, no, you're just not doing them enough. It was just really weird. Anyways, circling back to the fact that my brother went there for like a different reason than me. Again, she would literally like give us the same shit. Like she gave my brother like the blue light thing. She gave my brother like the whole speech about my daughter this, my daughter. Like I get that you love your daughter, but hun, you're at work. You're a therapist. I need help. I don't want to hear about your daughter. Sorry. I'm sure your daughter's lovely, but like that's not why I'm here. That's not why I'm paying you. I'm paying you because I'm fucking depressed. So can we please fix that? Like, and by I'm paying you, I mean my mom is paying you. This shit gets really weird. So try to stay with me on this, but like, again, she tried to give us all the same like coping mechanisms. Me, a 14-year-old at this time girl, has very different issues than a 10-year-old boy. Even if we're going through like a similar situation, we're going through it in different ways. Not the same thing. No one's situation is the same. So I actually have a direct quote from my brother as to something she said once. Like I said before, she liked to insert a lot of her own like life into our sessions, like a lot of her own opinions, if you will, because this is a very big opinion of hers that I'm about to tell you right now that definitely did not need to be pushed on a 10-year-old. So again, my brother was there for grief. Grief was a very hard thing to deal with. I'm sure all or most of you know at this point. My brother was talking about like his grief and how he was experiencing things. Like heaven got brought up. I am not the best person to talk to when it comes to knowing about religion. I actually barely know anything, but my family like was raised to believe in like heaven and hell or whatever you want to call them, like the afterlife basically. And I'm not saying my beliefs are 100% right. Like if you believe something else, that's fine. Like I'm not judging you. I have no judgment, but it's just, it's when other people try to like force other people to believe what they believe is where I have an issue. So my 10-year-old brother is in this session talking about like something about like heaven, I'm assuming, because I have a direct quote of what the therapist said to my brother talking about this.
Some people believe that people die and go to heaven, but I don't believe that. I believe that everyone just dies.
You're talking to a f***ing 10-year-old. What the f is wrong with you? Does it not register in your brain that you're talking to a kid? Lights are on, but no one's home. Since my brother was like a 10-year-old boy and like didn't know this woman, he had my mom sit in the sessions with him, right? Like that's a normal thing to do. Like when I was in therapy when I was younger, my mom would sit in the room with me because I was like around 9 or 10 like he was. You want a parent or like a trusted adult there with you. At least that's how it was for me. My mom and my brother are in like the session and they're both sitting there and the therapist tells my mom that she has to leave and my mom's just like, why? And then like my brother's like, no, like I want her to stay in here. Why does she have to leave? And she's like, well, like I feel like you need to be able to talk like on your own. Like he's fucking 10. She basically is like, Mom, I'm gonna have to ask you to leave. And my mom's like, no, my son wants me in here. Like, and she's like, Mom, I'm gonna have to ask you to leave. And my mom's like, I'm not leaving. Like my son is uncomfortable, blah, blah, blah. And my mom told me she had to like hold back like the anger because she didn't want my brother like freaking out, not trusting this woman. She was just being really weird about it. Like it didn't make any sense at all. Like it made absolutely no sense why she was trying to kick my mom out of the room so bad, but like it's like really pissed my mom off and it pisses me off now like hearing about it because a normal therapist would like respond to this like, oh, okay, like she can stay in the room. She responded to this by, oh, well, I wouldn't want to have to diagnose him with separation anxiety. Like, hold on, bitch. Separation anxiety?
Are you serious? Are you being for real?
Separation anxiety is completely different than my little brother not wanting to be alone in a closed room with a fucking stranger. How the f do you have a degree? It was just really weird. Like, how are you gonna like threaten to diagnose my brother with separation anxiety when he shows no signs of separation anxiety? Also, she kind of looked like the one lady from Harry Potter with like the big like circle glasses. Like, do you know who I'm talking about? I'll insert a picture here. I just think that's funny because when I saw her like for the first time, that is the first thing that clicked in my brain. I was like, this is that one lady from Harry Potter. Yeah, moral of the story, this whole experience was very, very weird. So we left and we never went back because who would? So it's about like 2 months after we've left like this therapist, for some reason, after not seeing her for 2 months, the little office that she was like employed through like sent us a letter in the mail that was basically just in like professional terms and like super big words told us that she was let go from her job. It was no shock to us, but when we got the letter in the mail, we were just like what? It was just a really weird experience and honestly good. Like if you're going to run your therapy sessions like that, no one should be seeing you as a therapist. But yeah, that is the craziest therapy experience I've ever had in my entire life. But I hope you enjoyed this really like all over the place, fun little story time / rant. It was just a really weird story and I thought you guys would like to hear it because not every day your therapist gets fired. Oh, also, I got my nails done. They're super extra. I honestly love it. Yeah, I just wanted to show you guys. But anyways, that's gonna be all for today's video. Again, go follow my socials if you don't already. And go ahead and add my Snapchat. I'm gonna try to post on there more. And if you guys like this video and you want more videos from me or more story times, because I have so many that I could make right now, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe. And also tap the bell so you get notified every time I upload a brand new video. Thank you so much for the love on my last couple videos. All right, I'm gonna go. Thank you guys so much for watching. I love you all so much. I will see you guys next Wednesday. Also, just wanted to add real quick, mental health is very important. Value your mental health. Make sure you see a good therapist if you're going to see one. Therapy is a process. Test things out. You can't just settle for one because you don't want to take the time to look. Like I promise you, get a therapist that specializes in what you're looking for, like help it. Things will get better from there. All right. Love you guys. Bye.